Hello, pandemic people. Welcome to Life as She Does It presents Life as We Do It Now when dark times call for viral measures. I'm She Garcia, and in true Life as She Does It fashion, the talk today is about finding joy in the dark times that life can bring us. And boy, oh boy, are we in some dark times. And dark times call for viral measures, pun totally intended. The viral measures we'll be talking about is grace and forgiveness for yourselves, for your partners, for those who you are communing with, for your children, and especially the grace and forgiveness that you receive. So, speaking of grace and forgiveness, though I do speaking and training engagements in front of people all the time, in front of crowds all the time, being virtual is not my strong suit or something I'm used to. So I ask if I'm asking for grace and forgiveness from you during this entire process. I'm going to try and be cognizant of your time, but again, my name is Sheila Garcia, aka Shegar. See, and I want to be able to just build a little credibility and trust by just sharing a little background with you. I've been doing talks, presentations, and training for 20 plus years. I'm a published author on the subject of finding joy, and I've been living it for almost 50 years personally, BT dubs. Almost 50 is the new 49. I'm going to make that happen. I'm looking forward to it, but we'll keep moving. So joy in the dark times of life, very easy to say. Easier to say when there isn't a pandemic going on in the world, right? But we all know that life is not easy before COVID, during COVID, and guess what? Adjusting to life after COVID won't be any easier. Joy is not easy, believe it or not, and for a lot of people, it's uncomfortable even. Unfortunately, in this world, it just isn't easy. We want what we want when we want it in this society, and not being able to get it. A tiny example: toilet paper makes us feel terrible, um, and I guess irritable. Side note, it is very interesting to me. I heard a pastor say, I guess about a week ago, that people are more worried about what's coming out of their body than what's going in. Hello, mind, body, and spirit. So, anyhow, add isolation, add depression to that, plus, I mean, this pandemic and all that we're in even greater danger than the pandemic itself. So I'm going to try and touch on every demographic today when talking about health and wellness in mind, in body, in spirit. Um, Someone once shared a visual with me, and I've used it over and over ever since. It's a three-legged stool. And if you're sitting on a three-legged stool and there's spirit and mind and body, and you take out one of those legs, you find yourself either falling or off balance, right? If you take away two legs, you're definitely going to fall. There's no unistool. So, but if you take away one, even if you don't fall, you'll be off balance. And that accounts for all people: the elderly, the young marrieds, the young singles, the middle age, the golden age lovelies, the almost 50s. And Lord only knows that we've all seen dark times or hard times at some point or another. But this is unlike anything any of us have ever seen. A great example is when I was going to the grocery store. I'm blessed enough to be still cooking for people and catering family meal preps. And I was getting out of the car, and I saw this line of people. I didn't really pay attention at first because I was too busy putting on my own mask, and then my mask over my mask, and then my goggles and my gloves, and I looked in the rearview mirror as I was putting my goggles on, as we sometimes do, I guess, with sunglasses or whatever. And there behind the rearview mirror, I actually saw that line of people looking just like me. And I started to sob. I mean, I started to cry. It's okay to feel sadness. Sadness is an emotion that I'm not saying find the joy, but don't feel sadness. Find the joy, but don't have concerns or don't be responsible. I mean, I'm essentially saying joy is what you find. I always use this quote when I'm giving a talk about joy. Um, Robert Louis Stevenson said, "Find out where joy resides and give it a voice far beyond singing. For to miss the joy is to miss all." That's so important to Life as She Does It, because I also offer singing in my services. But he says to give it a voice far beyond singing. P.S. and side note, I've been listening to some old school stuff lately, and Amy Grant's Better Than a Hallelujah has been at the top of my list. Just a little shout out to Amy and a gift to you. It's amazing. I always talk about how Hallelujah is the greatest lift praise that we can give to God. And if she's talking about the hard times we're going through, and it's better than a hallelujah, and it is sweet to God to hear us get close to him, then this is a gift to you, because it's a great song. Anyway, so how in the world do you find joy and where it resides in a pandemic virus? How do we establish a mind, body, and spirit joy that is frequent and is as consistent as possible? First, let me tell you, I'm not talking about happiness. Happiness is fickle. It requires happy circumstances, and we are not in happy circumstances. Grace and forgiveness, you guys. Joy, on the other hand, sticks around. It doesn't get chased off by trouble. Joy is not circumstantial. Joy is characteristic of faithful people found in his presence. It's not a silver lining. It's not happy people or happiness. Unlike happiness, joy is true satisfaction. Joy satisfies the heart in a way that temporary happiness never can. I mean, with life comes valleys. With life comes hard times. With life comes sickness and illness. With life even comes death, especially now. There's been illness and disease, earthquakes, floods, terrorism, hurricanes, tornadoes, Great Depression, hunger, famine, mental health conditions, and so much more that we have seen as a people for hundreds of years. And the only way to prepare is to change one's heart and continue to seek joy in all things, not just when things are good. If that were true, considering all we've been through, we would have zero hope. To miss the joy is, well, to miss it all. And life's too short to miss any of it. And here we are, letting it pass us by, lying around feeling sorry for ourselves as a whole. All right, I mean, that's enough. It's time to move on to things that bring about joy physically, mentally, spiritually, and in that order. So I've been interviewing a few wonderful people in my life, and have accumulated some fun ideas during this crazy time. Actually, perhaps I should say I've interviewed crazy people in my life and have accumulated some fun ideas during this wonderful time. And that's not just a dig at the crazy people in my life, y'all, but I'm calling this time wonderful. And you guys are probably saying, wonderful? What? Yep. We were overscheduled. Our kids were overscheduled. Our calendars were overscheduled. I mean, that's the physicality of it, right? I can't tell you how many people told me that mine and the Hubsters calendars made them want to throw up in their mouth. And here we are. My singing and speaking events canceled. All community and events and commitments canceled. All dinners, all fun nights out canceled. I could choose to look at that as heartache and loss, my income, of course, or I can choose to see the blessings in it. And I know a lot of people's plans, like weddings and reunions and so on, were canceled or changed. People that have lost their jobs, people that have lost loved ones. I know people personally like that in my life. I am not taking that lightly. I am not trying to be trite. I know how hard it's been. Our middle and his wife, Cameron and Kieran, Kier Cam, as their celebrity Moshe name, they planned on leasing their house. They just 2 weeks before this happened, the hubsters off here kind of smirking because this is true. They planned on they sold everything. They planned on leasing their house. They were going to get an RV, live with us for 2 or 3 weeks, get an RV and travel across the nation. And guess what? That is not an option anymore. I mean, we are fortunate to have them here and be with us during this time. And believe me, we don't believe in accidents at all. And yet, their plans, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, were changed, stopped, canceled. I mean, we lost Adrian's grandmother and my cousin in just the last few weeks and couldn't even attend funerals for them. Dads haven't even been allowed to be at the birth of their children through this. It is hard. It is so, so hard. But that doesn't mean there's no joy to be found. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not survival of the fittest. It is survival for all right now. Okay. So physically, no gyms. We are eating lots of stuff we shouldn't because either we have no choice with the grocery store having its own pandemic, by the way, or because of boredom, or because we're feeling trapped inside the house. Not so. Are you a crazy worker outer? Well, so is KeerCam, and they have done several things, several ways to keep fit. They've gone on walks. They've gotten free YouTubes, videos. They've walked up and down our stairs. Personally, I rebound or trampoline every day. It not only keeps the cardio going, it works on your glands, it works on your collagen, believe it or not. It works on even your balance, and that's coming from the double knee replacement chick of the universe. So definitely need balance. And speaking of balance, right, isn't that what we're talking about right now? But I mean, what about just going for a walk? I mean, for the physical part of it, it's perfect. I was talking to my friend Dixie, and she was saying that even for the mental health of it, why not just invite your neighbor? Now, I know like social distancing, but even if you've never really hung out with your neighbor, why not tell them that you'll walk on one sidewalk and they can walk on the other? Like, here's the road and you'll walk on one side and they can walk on the other. I know it sounds crazy and maybe it's not being together, but how fun and cool is it that you are still walking together? You can call one another during the walk via phone, you can talk. It's as though you're side by side, and meanwhile you're on either side of the street being responsible and still getting to know one another. Take fun selfies. You're talking to the selfie queen. take a selfie of you doing it. Even if you never post it, you're going to have it for yourself. You'll have that photo forever. Unless you drop your phone in water like I have done. But anyway, let's talk nutrition. So first of all, are you taking vitamins? Are you taking supplements? If you're not, you should be. They're called those things for a reason. And right now we need vitamins and natural things that will up and supplement our physical immune system and well-being, especially now. I know it's not fun to talk about, when eating ice cream is easier than ever. I mean, like $1 ice cream tub like this big is easy to buy, but healthy food items are harder to find than ever. We have to stop. We have to make good choices, not only for our future health, but also, to keep our immune systems up while we fight the possibility of getting this virus. There is lots you can do. Whatever suits you. If you are a diabetic and among the most vulnerable, by the way, then there's so much you can do to keep your blood sugar down. The hubster and I are low carb people in general. So there's low carb bread, low carb tortillas, low carb pasta, low carb everything. Low carb bread, I think, is the best kept secret. It's found in the freezer section of the grocery store. When I sent the hubster once, he had to really do some searching. But anyway, just make it work for you. Make do. If you love sweets and you've been overindulging, eat fruit, eat berries instead. If you just mash them up without extra sugar and let them sit for a few minutes, it's pretty much like you're eating sugary sweet. It's amazing. I know it sounds easier said than done, but reach out to me. I'm the creator of the She Talks or She's Talks. It's literally become a community, which I'm so grateful for and proud for, and can talk to you about maneuvering through healthy eating during this time to do so. Physically sound is your leg in the stool. So I do want to talk about that for a second. And again, bear with me as I go to share my screen. I don't know if I can do that. Let's see. See, there's got to be grace and forgiveness. Yes, share screen. And here we go. So this is a prime example. Doesn't that not look delicious? I'm going to go from current slide so you can just see. Whoops. Let's see. Right? I was going to say ignore those two, but they're too beautiful to ignore. So give me a second. Right there. That's the one. Look at that soup. That is creamy mushroom and thyme soup. Doesn't it look decadent? It looks amazing. And I know that. And I know that there are things that you can do that and it'll cost under $5 to feed your entire family with something like that. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's see if you can see it. I don't know. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, let's see if I can stop share. All right. Okay, guys, just give me a second to breathe because that's what we all need. And doing this, grace and forgiveness, remember. So physically sound is your leg of the stool. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be unreachable. It just needs to be balanced with what we are going through right now in order for that stool not to break. So, okay, let's move on to the mental. And yikes, that's a hard one. This one is hard, and it's also common sense easy. I think you know where to start, right? We've all been saying it. Outside! There's something so powerful about being outside. We are not supposed to never come out of our houses. That's not what stay at home or shelter in place means. Observe nature. There's actually a story behind that because the dots shared with me during some interview time for this talk, Sage, the eldest Grittle, which means grand little, was about 2 weeks old. So this was 4 years ago. And although Chelsea was going out and doing things because she's a mighty, mighty superhero, trust me, she was transitioning and adjusting to being a new mom from working all the time and from working all the time and being out to being home. Does that sound familiar? Just like now. There was a moment when I was over there doing what she's do, and the dots was feeling a very foreign feeling of home when you're not used to it. And so I stopped and I said, we're going outside just for a few minutes. And we just sat in the sun. I mean, she specifically remembers feeling better after she sat out there for a few minutes. It wasn't pushed, it wasn't forced. We just sat in the sun. She remembers me asking her, how do you feel? We just had light conversation. And the point is, she felt better and still remembers that moment to this day. And it's something she says she uses to this moment. We're all in if things are getting crazy or chaotic, or if you're feeling the blues, or this transition of being home all the time, like we are now, or even before this. She was sending people outside. It's what she's done ever since before the pandemic, when things feel crazy or chaotic in the house, including herself. Send them outside. Fuera. Can I just say that it also helps me feel validation, though, too, when I feel that I fall so short as a mom most times. And when she shares these stories, and your kids will probably share these stories too if you do it. And what a great reminder for those of us who are parents, right? They can walk away with memories of growth together as a family unit. I mean, I know movies and online games are great, but they can only take you so far, and they're fleeting, much like happiness. Should there be structure? Sure. It's important to the rhythm of our lives. Once in a while, it's okay just to chill, lie around in bed with everyone under the covers, reading to each other, tell jokes to each other. Let the day rule itself. Let it be organic in deciding which day is best for you and your family, or for those you're communing with. You know your family, and don't forget, you're just figuring this out for yourself. You know yourself. I think it's just a matter of perspective. I mean, you don't have to stay at home with your family. You get to. You don't have to chill out and forego your calendar. You get to. You don't have to keep your friends and family and yourself safe. You get to. And where does grace and forgiveness come in to find the joy? None of us are getting it 100 or perfect. None of us. Give yourself grace and give others around you grace. Be quick to forgive. Something else that Chelsea shared with me, it was a really cool thing that she and Shmuley Willie are doing in partnership during this time for their own mental health and well-being, as well as that of their children. Chelsea will come out in the morning. She will peek out in the living room, and if things seem a little bit heightened, she goes back into the room and she gives herself some time alone, with God. And Sam is with the kids. Not can you watch the kids, because guess what? They're your kids. They're both your kids. Nobody's babysitting anyone. But honey, let me be with our children, and let me give you some time to be alone, or be with God, or have some quiet time. And guess what? She does the same thing for Sam in the evenings. It's a partnership. It's what works for them. And it's a way that gives them grace, forgiveness, partnership, encouragement, edification. Also, since I haven't gone more than about 4.5 days ever in seeing those griddles, it's been hurting Shishi Popo's heart, that's us, and theirs not to see us. So Shishi Popo, Auntie Kiki, Uncle Cami, we all went over to their driveway. We stayed about 15 feet apart and had a driveway distancing dance party, which I will try to share with you right now. Let's See if I can do that. You guys, grace and forgiveness. Share screen, got it. Okay, I think we're doing it. I'm doing it. Hubs, you'd be so proud of me. Look at this. So do you see that hose right there? That hose right there was their limit. Their mommy and daddy were very honest with them about things that are going on. And at 4 and at 2, it must be so hard to comprehend. And they told them, if you want to see them and keep everybody well, you don't go past this little hose there, which was so cute. So Sage comes running outside. Don't they look cute? This is that day, and they're wearing their helmets and they're riding their bikes. This was after our dance party, but they went. Look at Titus right there. He is really pushing the limits. His toes are right over that line, and you know what? They ran out, and Sage comes running over to the hose, and Sam said to her, "Wait, Sage, what did mommy and daddy say if you go over the hose?" And she goes, "Party's over." And as funny as that is, and as awesome as that sounds, that they're such good parents. I mean, social distancing is important. We tried to be careful. We were much more than 6 feet away. We did hula hoops. We played baby shark. Coco had the new wash your hands, do. It was hard being that far away, but guess what? It helps so much just to be able to be that close too. So you've got to know that that's still something for mental health. You've got to be responsible doing it. But there are also a lot of hours in the day, and we also need more options. And since QCam is here now, we have a puzzle on the table that's actually on the table right now. We've been working on together. We camped outside in our backyard. There are bike rides. We do Bible study together. We talk about the truth of the matter and what that looks like in the world, in our world, and where our hope lies. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the third leg comes in. This is the viral measure of which I speak because it is the most important and the strongest leg. Holding and helping the others hold up, should those other two pieces just be a tad weak. We are a family of faith, and to be quite honest, I don't know where we would be without it because it gives us hope. We believe our hope is in Jesus. Now, this is going to be where you probably shut off the video. You're thinking this is going to be our weird way of ringing your doorbell or giving you a pamphlet or trying to cast out demons electronically. Absolutely not. This is where our story of hope lies. This is where our joy comes from. Everyone has asked, what's the difference with you? Well, I'm telling you my story, and this is where it comes from. We've talked at length about those that are going through this with no hope, and we feel sadness for them, and we pray for them. And prayers and alone time with God is crucial to finding joy in these dark times. Tell him your fears, tell him your anxieties, pray for provision, pray for others. I'm praying for you, we're praying for you. Did you know that domestic violence calls have gone up since this started? You guys, we need to be fighting for our families, not with our families. We can't do any of this alone. God is not surprised by any of this. Yes, he's sending us a message. Unlike what some people believe is like the message of condemnation. I don't think so. I believe it's a message of hope, of love, a reminder of the blessings we have right before us that we all started to take for granted or forget. So because of our faith, our family stands united. It's on our family crest that we created. We stand united. But what if you're isolated? What if you're alone during this time? Who do you have? I mean, how do you not feel that depression of being under quarantine and stay home? Faith, there is still joy to be had. We have been given one life, you guys. We cannot waste it even during a pandemic, especially during a pandemic. I was talking with Auntie Lulu, and she said something that really rang out. She said in her alone time, she prays we don't allow things to go back to normal. And I was really curious what she meant. And she said, I want people to forget what it's like to have the blessings that they have been blind to be seen. I don't want people to forget that without this crazy scheduling and hectic lives, we're actually living. So I stand alongside her and I pray that it doesn't go back to normal, as we've all been secretly and sorely and strongly hoping for. I pray that we are not blind to our blessings in body, in mind, and in spirit. I pray we find and keep the faith. I pray we find the joy, and as my friend and bandmate James said, that we are the joy for ourselves and our friends and family. And what do I mean by that? Well, we can make that choice. Who are you during this pandemic? Are you someone choosing to live in fear and anxiety over things you cannot control? Or are you someone who finds and seeks the faith, the joy that's to be found in that faith, that sees the blessings all around you and creates a joyful circumstance for yourself and for those around you? I mean, let's be careful not to allow one of our legs to fall out from under us, especially when we're around others that we're going through this with together. In fact, let's be careful not to allow one of our legs to fall out from under us. Let's just strengthen them, all of them in balance, not in spite of what's happening around us, but because of it. Okay, so now let's talk about the recipe. In She's Mess, Life, Love, and Recipes, and A Life of Flavor, and Extra Ingredients to a Life of Flavor books, I tell a story of hard times or dark times in each chapter. And then there's a moral to the story from a faith perspective. And then I add a matching recipe at the end of each story for comfort. Well, right now I'm definitely cooking for comfort, for my family, for my clients. But also for the physicality of it, we need meals that are healthy and simple. So, and inexpensive, because right now, that may be the most important thing. So let's talk pandemic pantry. Maybe the items you have on hand aren't the most elegant, they're not the most distinguished. Don't worry, peeps, they can be delicious. There's one in A Life of Flavor called Poor Man's Stew. So check that out in A Life of Flavor book. This one's easy though. It's attainable. If you need any ingredients from the grocery store, if you don't have them on hand, these are ingredients that are super attainable. You're not standing in line for. And let's not forget delicious. So since we're in a sticky situation, I'm giving you a recipe for my sticky chicken thighs. Say that 5 times fast, Hubster. I will leave it up for you at the end of this. And in the meantime, be well. Stay well. God bless you. Be on the lookout in the coming weeks for more of Life as She Does It talks on marriage during a pandemic, honesty with your kids. There is a lot more coming, because though we're trying to flatten the curve, we're not there yet. So there's a lot more coming. And one thing before I go, please don't forget what it's like to hug someone. So, She Garcia out.